Hello, everybody. Welcome to Agents of AI, our next episode and our first episode featuring our special or our fun twist to this podcast series. It's sponsored by Capto or run by Capto. You all should know me by now from episode 2. My name is Peter Stubbe. I'm a member of the Capto team. I'm going to be your primary host going forward for Agents of AI. And what you can expect out of these now 15 to 20-minute episodes in the future are continuous conversations with AI leaders, influencers, finance leaders specifically are people that we work closely with, but anybody who's enthusiastic about the future of AI and agentic AI. And as you may have caught on, our twist here is that we are going to have these people that join us be an avatar to start. They'll give maybe some clues about who they are and where they work or what they do in life before we go into the questions, but we're going to keep them anonymous, and we will reveal in the end who they are. It'll be like a big Masked Singer type of reveal. So super excited to have this person with us because they were actually the one that came up with the idea for this format. So we owe them full credit for that, and we'll cheers and high five each other at the end of the episode there. But go ahead, Al, or we'll call this person the Al for going forward. Go ahead, introduce yourself without saying your name or company, but a little bit about you and your background.
Yeah, so I'm the Al. Yeah, so a thought leader in the space, working in the field of intelligent automation and generative AI for quite some time. Definitely generative AI in the last like three years, right? Because that's how it's all kind of started and got very beefed up. But definitely happy to be here and happy to have a conversation and really bring some insight into the space and some wisdom, some Al wisdom. So yeah.
Yeah. No, definitely a lot of wisdom. I love this person as our first guest because there's somebody that I have followed very closely myself personally and been like truly, I would say like inspired by this person's growth. And I think like a final bonus question that I have as a part of today's discussion is, we'll get into it, but this person is an active content creator. So for those of you that are out there listening in, please, look at it from that perspective as well. So, Mr. Al, can you tell us what you like most about your career and your role and your contributions to the AI landscape? Like what keeps you motivated in terms of being a part of it?
Yeah, I think the motivation is it's moving so fast, and I think the speed of where things do move is the key point that keeps people's attention. Even the fact of like doing small bits of entertaining things to get people's attention to drive that. But the real win is how we're building things together, how we're enabling people, how we're empowering those people, and driving real emboldenment throughout enterprises, through systems. Seeing how Gen AI has come into the place and really focused on the customer side first.
Yep.
is what's driven this to this point where people they want it, they need it, they say it's easier. Here's how I am enabled by this thing, and then they drive it forward. Now the enterprises and the companies are really starting to go, wait, okay, how do we do the same thing? The people want this, our employees want this. How do we drive that forward? And so that, I think that's the exciting part. And as an influencer, as somebody that's a thought leader that gets asked questions all the time, the win is helping people, because there's a lot of us that didn't have help when we did this when we first started, and now having the ability to give back, that's fantastic.
Yeah, well, that's really great to hear from you, Mr. Al, and I think just something that we're really closely in tune with our work at Capto, but just in general myself in the space, because with new things come new challenges, right? And there's a lot of publications out there talking about the issues of making agentic AI actually work. There's a lot of questions right now in the ecosystem of not only just the ROI, but like are people actually using AI to its full capacity, and having people like yourself that are evangelists and experts and thought leaders in the space are people that can help, strike down those types of things. So thank you for your work. I think that that's a good segue then, in your role as a thought leader and influencer and creator, like what do you feel is something that's underappreciated about your work, or maybe like a peek behind the curtain in terms of whether, like you would want more people to know about, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing with anybody that's online, it's hard to validate and vet. Do they know what they're talking about?
Yeah.
And in that, you want somebody like myself that is in the space, that does it every day, that works for, a set of companies that I can't mention, but in general, like working in the Gen AI space, working in the automation space, really driving and making things happen because they see it. And so when they see that on the enterprise side, and you're able to work through those issues that everybody else has the same questions about. When you have the questions of like, where are the use cases? Well, there's not really any use cases at this point because it's still brand new. And that's really the direction we have to take about this is as it's new innovation, as it's new technology, and we come into the agentic era, and then we move past that because it's a step in the right direction. It's not the end all. And then we move into potentially orchestration of agents and agent to agent functionality and how they communicate. I was just talking to someone earlier and they were saying, how do we get rid of the red tape? How do we get rid of all the things that are just in the way from innovation and out of the way of business? And the real way is to have a business agent that is with you when you start the company and it's with you. It helps have that understanding. It helps do the department to department conversations. You even may have a personalized agent that is going to be with us at some point, especially with schools and whatnot. So all these things are going to be able to interact and kind of vouch for us and help us throughout the things that we do and have all that context and contextual understanding that we give it, or that the interactions we do with either business or personal will give it as well. And that makes it just easier for everybody to either live life or just enjoy more things to do or get more things done faster. And so everybody wins at the end. We just need to build stuff to make it work. And that's kind of the innovation thought leader side too, is let's get that hill and point at it and say, that's the direction. Let's go build it.
Awesome. All right. So I think this is a question that I don't know, maybe it's not that difficult to ask, but I feel like for somebody like you, who I have obviously a little bit more information about you than the listeners at this point, but you've been around the space for a number of years. You're an early mover, you early understand, but think back, like, how did you get to start using AI? Like how did you first discover about it? Like, do you remember the first use cases that came on your plate, and like what got you, I would say, like, quote unquote, addicted to the space like you are today? What was the trigger for you?
I think the biggest trigger that may give a little bit away, the people that do know me, is that it literally came out, GPT-3. I mean, I was looking at it before then, but especially back when attention is all you need. But the real kicker was GPT-3 coming out to B2C, the customer side. And it came out on my birthday. And I was like, oh, hey, it's a birthday. And what is this thing? I was like, this is really interesting. I've been reading about this, and this is actually hitting the point now of live. Like, okay, this is going to change. And then it was the aspect of like, well, what do I do with that? Because of the hallucinations, because of the nuance wasn't quite there yet, and it had still disparate systems that weren't quite connected and didn't have legs yet, didn't have agency, didn't have agentic, right? So looking at that, I came into that and said, well, how do I build that into automation? Because if LLMs don't have audit controls, how do we audit them? Well, we build automations to build audit controls. And not all APIs are created equally. So if we need an API, we use automation to build the API or the connection that's needed, because we're still bringing in brand new innovation and technology, yet legacy systems have to be able to talk to this thing. So how do we do it? And so I literally wrote something called AI spanning, and that's where I would span RPA automation, intelligent automation in with LLMs. So the LLM was like kind of like the background nuance understanding of knowledge, whereas the automation was driving the end process of, I need to do a thing to prompt to get an understanding. Okay, I got that understanding from the LLM, put that back into the automation, and then get the end-to-end result. Therefore, you knew what it was doing, why it was doing it. Your prompt wasn't getting prompt injected because it was a standard default one that you created or your team created using automation. So it wasn't going to change. So you're not getting model drift. You're not getting data poisoning. You might get depending on how you build it, you might have some risk there, but in general, it's going to do what it does and give you that audit layer. And it works, really fine, still works. And that's some of the aspects that I built in. I still recommend people look at it that way. And now that we have agency and now we have multi-agent systems, the next thing is just don't let your data run off. Like, don't let your intellectual property, I call it, another hint, I guess, here is like, don't allow LLMs or don't commit intellectual surrender with LLMs or foundational models or the coming world models that are coming up. That's the risk that businesses and people in general have to be aware of.
Yep. No, definitely. And, I've been smiling ear to ear the entire time that you've been talking, Mr. Al, because I think we got really close to revealing who you are. And definitely, like you said at the beginning of your answer, when you do reveal your identity at the end, I think it'll make perfect sense about given your background. So I guess as we kind of come to the home stretch here, you've talked about how you got started in AI, how things have evolved. Like, agentic is huge, but I feel like you've already maybe even gone past that in terms of understanding those use cases. Like, from your perspective of somebody who's especially on the bleeding edge, what do you want to use AI for next, or where do you want to see it get better? Maybe you could pull the thread there on that, like, that ownership of personal IP and stuff like that, because I think that that's an important next consideration for AI as we go down this pathway of like personalized AI instances. But go ahead.
Yeah, there's definitely some interesting. I mean, on the consumer side, there's risks, and on the consumer side, even then, like, you have like the Sam Altmans of the world, of like the leaders of OpenAI, saying that we're going to either have we may not have like this monetary fund that is just given to people for the knowledge that is being kind of taken from them or commoditized from them. We may be giving them AI units, and these AI units of compute, everybody gets to do that and then get a certain number of that. But like, I still see the issue coming up where that's a massive bridge or a massive ravine that it's going to be hard to jump over, and it's going to be hard to transverse over. And agents can help with that. Agents can build that understanding, can build that scaffolding, especially for businesses. This is what is going to, that the way to maintain your knowledge internally, your processes, your intellectual property, or the methods of how you do what you do. That's where agents and multi-agent systems and these architectures are going to help you survive. But also help you pivot and everything else too. But on the human side and on the very end user side, one of the things that I'm speaking to here in the next month is basically LLMs are best understood as like the language and kind of like modifier for all of us to be better in general, because although we can put our own information in there and we may understand some of our own biases that we have as humans, it gives us the ability to ask those questions. Like, I don't know how to talk to my boss about getting a raise. I don't know how to talk to this organization because I don't have their throughput, or I don't know how to talk to this hospital system because I don't know what to do for my child or whatnot. So all of these things can be asked by AI and give you more grounding yourself as a human to know how to interact, how to get more out of it, how to get more out of the conversation, and how to get to the goal that you really wanted to go to get the support or get the ask or the demand or the pain point that you're seeing. So utilize the tools we have, utilize the wins. But where's the future going? I still think that it removes a lot of the red tape. And I think that as we move forward to human in the loop, of humans providing some context and working with AI, it becomes more the future once we understand, like, and again, another hint here is once we get to understand like that alignment and that clarity and that transparency of where things are going, and we gain that trust in the process, in the technology, it becomes more human on the loop. And then we're just there to basically say, we agree with this action. The red tape is already there, and it's already part of the governance, already part of the change control. The agents will handle that between the two districts or areas or organizations, which makes it easier for us just to get the work done. But we're still responsible at the end of the day, because we still want a human responsible for what's actually happening in the enterprise and the world around us with our medical data, all these aspects. And so that's where I think that would be going next without giving too much away.
Nice. Well, for those humans in the loop, and the ones that are way, the majority of the world that's behind you, wise Mr. Al, where should they start? Where should people be spending their time to, learn more? Like, what are the courses? What are the what are the resources? For somebody who, the few people that have yet to explore AI, what's your guidance for them to get started?
Yeah, so everybody has their own journey, and you
Yeah.
can't force people, round holes and square pegs and the same thing. So it is a comfort level. It is like from a human side, it's a comfort level, and an emotional comfort level at sometimes, and a enterprise side or business side, it's a much more like risk tolerance level. So how much risk do you want to take? Do you want to be bleeding edge? Do you want to kind of stay in the middle? Nobody's written here's how this works all the time. The Microsofts, the Googles, the Anthropics, like everybody doesn't have like this is the way. It's still kind of your way, and this is where the innovation is there, and that's why there's hype, and that's why there's talks about it's a bubble, but it's not, but it is, but how? And I don't think it is. I think it's just the way innovation works. But people need to use it just to even talk to it. I would even use it because of the world that we live in now, and all the stuff in the news, like use it to vet sources. Like if you have a question, ask the question. I know my ask questions, I'm like, I have my answer. It's kind of biased, like to be true. Like I don't know how to answer this, so I'm gonna like, okay, AI, if I ask this question, but don't ask it in a biased way. Make sure you're asking it very plain and saying, I want to vet this. I want to understand. What about this do I not get, or how do I explain this to a 10-year-old or whatever, and that will give you some feedback, and that feedback may not always be perfect feedback, but it's sometimes it's better than what you've had. And again, it's that leveler, it's that accelerator at the same time, it's that universal aspect. I'm working with groups and council groups and people all over the world that are actually, some of these groups are working with third world countries and countries that don't have all the same wins that first world countries have, and they're using AI and using it to build things, get ideas on how to sell things with the market or the area that they're in, and it's working. And there's new stats coming out that third world countries are doing and using AI more than first world. So, the common thing that people talk about is like, oh, it's people that use AI and people that don't that matter. Like it's a thing. Well, what if those people are in a third world country and then they use it and you lose out because the people in the first world country are like, oh, I don't need it. So I think pay attention, use it. It'll do you well.
Nice. All right. Well, we have a special bonus question for you, Mr. Al. And for those of you that are listening into the episodes of Agents of AI, the questions that Mr. Al has been so kind to answer up to this moment are the things that we want to typically ask our guests. But because Mr. Al is such a strong content creator and somebody that has really catapulted into especially the LinkedIn space, but they have a presence beyond that as well. We would love for you to share just some advice, encouragement, motivation to other people that are aspiring AI content creators. I know personally I'm challenged by this even in this day and age. Like, how do you suggest people stick out, within all the content that's being published both by and about AI? Like, how do you do it?
Yeah, I think it may not always be a matter of like how I do it, but I definitely have some tenets that I try to uphold. And I think part of that's just like being kind of human first in general. If you're talking to humans, be human. And in that, I mean, of course I use AI. I use AI to do pretty much all my pictures, because all the pictures that I put on my posts take forever. When I did it by myself, and like trying to put stuff together and screen capture stuff and move it around, and I mean, it's a fun thing, but I couldn't post every day. It's impossible. So basically, by utilizing the picture aspect of it and kind of branding it in my own style and my own way, that people see it, they go, "Oh yeah, that's Mr. Al stuff." Say the Al thing. So, but in general, the things that people can win with are, and then some of the tenets I follow is like, be authentic. If you're going to post things out there and say, this is my thoughts, this is my opinion, this is my perception or my perspective, be authentic. Like, understand what you're putting out, and then talk to it. Come on podcasts or talk to people about it. Go on and moderate or do something with it. Talk to others, join groups. There is a interesting, I don't know if it's a phenomenon, but it's definitely interesting that evangelists and people that are thought leaders and people that are like one-offs, like we as a society don't really trust it anymore, it seems. And so you have to be a part of groups. It is a group, not a group think, not an echo chamber thing. You have to be aware of those as well, but definitely as a group, it's much easier to have these conversations. And really it goes back to some of the way that I teach. And so I teach with another framework I have is a like see one, do one, teach one, learn one. Whereas like the originals like see one, do one, learn one. And I was like, I never really learned anything there. I just like memorized a bunch of stuff. But when you teach, the key there is the teaching aspect. And that is where when I teach someone else about something that I'm looking at or I'm thinking about, what I get back is their perspective. And so I'm not just mired in my own belief, my own understandings, my own groundings. I'm actually getting somebody else's perspective going, well, what about this, Mr. Al? And I say, oh, hooch, that's interesting. And I say, here's another way to look at that. And that's what I use to actually learn, because you're never going to learn if you're just in your own head. And so definitely I advise those people on LinkedIn, on social media to post. Yeah. And I think the biggest thing I can tell them that I recently have found is that with the world around us that is not quite clear, and the world being AI generated images and stories and whatnot, and we don't always know what's true or false, it's better to have your own voice than somebody else be your voice. Yep. So the more you show up, the more you are authentic, the more you say, this is how I am, who I am, and what I do, it's much harder for someone to say, oh, but they did this. And like the example I give is like everybody understands this when they take their passport photo. You take your passport photo, none of us look good. We all look horrible. We look like axe murderers on the news or whatnot. None of us are those things, but we look like that. But at least if you show up and say, look, I'm not that, guess what? You're not that. So it's much easier. And I think we're moving into that space in the world around us that we need to be aware of.
Nice. Well, I think you had like a pretty good mic drop statement there in terms of just like being genuine, be yourself. And I think if I had to predict the headline that we go forth when we reveal you, Mr. Al, and publish this episode to the rest of the world, I think that may have took it. So we're going to bring things full circle here. We're going to reveal your identity next after this, but very quickly, Mr. Al, who is your favorite agent of AI? This could be a peer, a thought leader, another thought leader. I'm thinking in the context of who should our next guest be. It's up to you. We trust you.
Yeah. Agent of AI. Interesting. There's so many, but in the context of this, this is fun in general, because I think the avatar thing is kind of fun. It was somebody that got me. I'll do this one. So a person that got me involved in actually posting on LinkedIn because they believed in me and said, "Hey, you think differently. You have a way about like you're technical and yet you can explain it. You should post on LinkedIn." And I said, "No one wants to hear what I have to say." And many people are always going to tell you that, right? And usually those people just get away from them. Unless you're doing something like really wrong. But in general, so this person believed in me and said, just do it. And after trying it a few times and actually seeing that it did help others, it made a big difference in my life. And now, some 4 years later on the LinkedIn side, it's actually made massive difference in what I do, who I know, and people I've talked to, and just being able to help others. And so I would say the best agent of AI in that context would be Kieran Gilmurray out of Ireland.
Yeah. We love Kieran. Kieran would be, I would describe him as like, just like you, Mr. Al. It's like a real heavy hitter that could help take agents of AI to a whole new stratosphere. So, maybe we'll try to figure out some of the kinks of the podcast, thanks to you, a close friend, Mr. Al, and we'd love to have Kieran on next. So he's going to get tagged when we release this for sure. So, all right. So now the big ending. Let's, even if we need to edit out the pause here for you to reveal yourself and remove your avatar.
There you go.
There he is. All right. Don't let me do it. Introduce yourself, reveal your name, anything else that you'd like to share. Go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah. So Doug Shannon, a person that is an intelligent automation Gen AI leader, been around for the last like 7 to 8 years in the space of automation and where it's all going and leading. Happy to be on here. It was fun to do all this and to also give people another way to look at the information that's being provided. So hopefully everybody got something out of it. If you need anything, reach out on LinkedIn. That's the main platform I'm on. I'm also on X, and I have my own podcast I do with other companies and stuff where I talk about AI and things that are coming out. But yeah, no, happy to be here and happy to have the conversation. So thanks, everybody.
Yeah, thanks so much, Doug. And what I'll say here, just to add on to what Doug said, like he's very active on LinkedIn. And one of the things that I will give you credit for, Doug, besides coming up with the format for Agents of AI and the whole avatar thing and thinking outside the box, your content is great. But what really sticks out to me, Doug, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart, you respond to messages to people, and you're very helpful. And I've been a part of your journey, watching you go from a few thousand followers to now in the tens of thousands, and you've always treated your audience the same. And for that reason, really happy and proud to have you be an early member of this program and an early supporter. And just want to give a shout out to you for that, for being that special and bringing that human element to the content creation. So for anybody who's interested in connecting with Doug, please do so on LinkedIn. Please support his content, and you're going to learn a lot from him. Yeah.
Cool. Thanks, Peter. I appreciate that. That's really kind.
All right. So, officially, like, recording over.